What we're going to do is we're going to model something that we've done in the first or second day of our class, where remember how all these specular highlight, these rounds all come and point to something, and if that's not significant to my design, which industrial designers will look at a model and say, why do you have all those rounds pointing to nothing? The engineer's like, well, that's just how Pro E puts rounds in. So what I want to do is educate engineers to understand that there's another way. I can diminish the round by building in a kind of patchwork. So I've got my geometry pointing to nothing. So what I want to do is come up with a mechanism or a workflow that can cut this whole area out, and we're going to patch it back in using surfaces. So I'm just going to blindly cut out of this geometry a hogged out cut, blatant hogged out cut, and I'm going to apply what I call the 5-minute fix. It takes 5 minutes to just get the rounds to resolve in a way that could be satisfactory just to go to tooling. Mental note, you get a lot of different control vertices, and I probably can't use piece to piece here because I didn't organize myself appropriately. In the second direction, I could probably take that one point and connect to one of these points and minimize some of the striation that's occurring across there. I didn't force it tangent anywhere, but for many people that would be good enough. A better way to probably resolve that whole area, maybe we should just play with tangency. Force tangency at the top, force tangency at the bottom, force tangency on the left here. Looks like the preview broke and went away. So what I do is I go to my constraints. I see that the last thing I just picked on is highlighted. I come down to look at specifically what it went tangent to. Do you see how this is highlighted right here? And it's going tangent. Pro E flipped a quarter and it went tangent to the wrong edge. I'm just going to tell it to go to this edge and that edge. Preview is unveiled to me now. Let's do the same thing to this side. Tangent. It's going specific to the wrong edge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did it backwards. Okay. So it looks like my surfaces are forced tangent to the inner edge. Do you see how they're going tangent to the inner edge there? Let's release that. Let's go and look at how we can release that inner edge tangency option. So I had to be on the right tangency edge. So I lost that inner edge tangency. Now this inner edge tangent line is going more arbitrary to the surface, not specifically to the curve. So it loosened up the knotting that's occurring.
A lot of my colleagues at where I work had taken the ISDX Pro Surface class before I did, and they all recommended that I get in as soon as I could. It was great. I learned a lot as far as the pro surfacing. So I've been using Pro E 10 years, and it was nice to still learn some tricks that I didn't know, and definitely got some good experience using ISDX. It seems like anything that I had a problem with, they had seen the same problem before, so they were good at either watching over my shoulder as I made the corrections, or doing the corrections themselves, and then I would kind of undo it and go back and redo the same thing. The instructors were great. It was nice to have two instructors, both Benny and Eric, and I think it was nice, small class size, and I think they both could pay attention to the work that we were doing. There's just 4 of us in the class, so I think we all kind of came from different backgrounds. So it was nice that we're all taking this class, but it seems like each guy was trying to get like a different point of view from what was going on in the class. Still all Pro E and ISDX related. I've had taken some other pro surfacing classes, ones where they're just, basically going by a big thick book, and you're kind of just repeating what's, written down in the book, and, making whatever, they put in there. But this was a lot more open, a lot more challenging parts. There's, if you look on the web page, there's, tons of different models on there, and even in my spare time, I've kind of been going through them and reviewing how each one has been built. So it's been a lot helpful, a lot better than just kind of copying clicks written down in a textbook. Some new techniques I learned. I definitely learned a lot more about how to incorporate ISDX into ProSurface, and still have some of the control that ProSurface gives you that ISDX kind of tends to be a little more free form. So definitely learned some techniques, how to kind of tie those two together, and definitely can go back to where I work and use some of those same principles.
There's a better way to build this geometry. Let's delete that edge and ultimately come in here and define something more specific. I'm going to take this guy and lock it to that vertice right there. You see what I did? I locked it to the end vertice. I'm going to color some of this geometry a little bit different color so you can see it. I've been asking for a tool that can help us organize the color appearance of the geometry. You see how I've colored different panels? Can you see I'm coming specifically to a point here? Now I'm going to do the same exact thing, expecting a slightly different result. Build my boundary blend, shift, control shift, second direction, whoops, control, and shift. Now look, if you'll notice, if you have a good memory, I now only have two control vertices to connect here. One. Now I'm going to basically minimize it to just one. This one went tangent to those edges and doesn't work, so I'm going to come down in here and be more specific. Creo basically flipped a quarter on what it's going tangency to. Do you see what's red? I'm going to pick that one. Notice it went to the second notch. 2. Notice it skipped this one because it's not involved anywhere. 3 and 4. Let's force tangency over here. It's got confused again. I expected it to get confused. And there we go. Patchwork. Let's solidify that geometry and hide the original surface. I usually manage this with a layer by hiding all the layers, but for the example, now I've got a smoothed out kind of area.